Hello.
Hello, hi everybody.
I always get a little bit transfixed with that video. I think it's the beat of the music. Nice to see you, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. So last time we were talking about working with brand new clients, and this time our theme's a little bit different. We're going to be talking about how to transition existing clients to retained. Isn't that right, Jordan?
Yeah, it is. And it's funny, isn't it? Because I think last time we spoke, we talked about one of the biggest misconceptions when it comes to selling retained, being that it needs to be with an existing client and that you can't sell retained search to brand new customers that maybe don't trust you yet, or you've not got a prior history of working with. But actually, the complete opposite of that is true. Probably the other biggest misconception that people have is, how on earth do we go and win retained business with a customer that we've got a track record of working contingently with, where the contingent model's working and they like the way we work?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think that's really difficult for some people to understand why a client would make a financial commitment at the beginning of a project when you've been working for years without doing that.
Yeah.
It is quite difficult for people to get their head around.
Yeah.
And I think maybe that was true for you at the start, was it, Jordan?
Yeah, absolutely. I remember when we first started working together, Lou, I'd never worked on a retained basis. If I'm honest, when we first started working together, I probably didn't really know what it was. I just knew I was really frustrated with that contingent model, and I was convinced that there had to be a better way. But absolutely, I thought there's no way I can go and sell this to clients that I've been working with contingently for a good amount of time, especially when I did have quite a good track record. I filled most of the positions I worked on for them contingently. But ironically, over the course of us working together, just in a few weeks, my mindset shifted massively. And the first 3 retainers that I won, I think it was the first week after doing the course, the first 3 retainers, all of which were with existing clients that I had a track record with, that had only ever worked contingently, full stop, never mind with me.
Yeah.
So that showed me very quickly that it is possible. It really is.
Yeah, and I was just going to show you whether I can do it on this, but let's have a go. Does it let me share my screen? Oh my goodness me. Yikes. I don't know whether I can actually do this in here. I probably can't.
I assume
maybe that's a bit adventurous. I was going to show Charlotte, who recently sent us an email saying, I've just transitioned my longest standing client to from contingent to retained. So I was just sharing, busting the myth, really, misconceptions. But I don't think I can actually do it. Maybe Charles, I know you're watching, Charles, maybe you'd be able to post it as an image in the comments. But anyway, back to how to do it. When you're converting an existing client that you've worked with, the first piece of advice is to find out where you stand with them before you go anywhere near having the conversation, because I have seen and experienced firsthand going into this conversation assuming that they're happy with your service is not a good thing to do. So firstly, have a review with them. And actually, a review is a really good time to do it, even if there isn't something active right now, which for a lot of people there might not be, is to take the opportunity to find out, how has the provision of service been? How are they feeling about the way that you're working together? Are they getting what they want from you? Are they happy with the service that you're providing? If they say they are, and you've been doing really well with them, and the answer to that is brilliant, just keep doing what you're doing, it doesn't mean that you can't transition them to a retained relationship.
Yeah.
How did you do it? I don't want to put you on the spot if you want.
No, yeah. I mean, I think the first part of it is getting your mindset in the right place, right? And understanding that, yes, a lot of the time, the reason we recommend retain to a client is because that contingent model isn't delivering for them, right? They're not seeing the results that they expect. They haven't seen the results they'd expect in the past from the contingent model, or our experience of the market tells us they probably won't this time round. Sometimes the contingent model is working for them, but it's about understanding that it isn't working for us.
Mm.
What I did is explain to clients, and I've done this consistently, is explain to clients that the market is changing, especially at the moment, right? We've been through a really strange few years with things like COVID. People are talking about impending recessions, and it's getting harder and harder to attract the best caliber of talent. What that means is, in order for us as recruiters to continue delivering the level of results that our customers have become accustomed to, we're having to apply even more time, even more rigor, even more resource to continue delivering great success. And whilst I'm more than capable and more than happy to keep doing that, the problem that I have is that I'm working completely at risk, and I can't apply all of that time and effort whilst at risk. And this isn't an exercise for me to make more money. The cost overall is exactly the same, but the financial commitment from my client, that's what allows me to continue applying all of that resource necessary to deliver the results.
Yeah, exactly. And actually, because this is a customer that knows your capability, they know they want you to carry on working with them, providing you make it easy for them to step into this way of working and don't make it any more expensive, and don't frighten them with, I want everything to be on this basis straight away, and just take it one step at a time. I just want to demonstrate that not only is this not, I'm not going to run away with your the financial commitment, but it is going to enable me to provide an even better level of service. And actually, you won't want to go back to any other way of working because of the way in which I'm able to deliver the result with some financial commitment from you. So will you just let me show you on this one project? And that makes it a lot more palatable, rather than them feeling they have to marry you. And you don't want to be going in with everything has to be like this forever. Let's just take this next test case and let me show you that it can be even better.
Yeah, and you know what, actually, I think if I look back at my experience of doing this with existing customers, there are a whole plethora of objections we can get when we pitch retain, right? There's just in our course, we go through over 25 different objections, but a lot of the time they boil down to 2, 3, 4 core objections. Some of them might be about financial commitment and what if we don't deliver? Like, what happens? Well, you've demonstrated capability normally to an existing customer. They're confident that you can deliver. One of them might be cost. The cost overall is the same.
Yeah.
So
only the payment model that's different.
Yeah, exactly. So actually, the fact that you've got that trust, you've got that credibility, it alleviates, I found, some of the core objections. So I really would encourage people to not be scared of taking this solution to existing customers.
And to use the fact that the market is more challenging than it ever has been, even though some firms aren't hiring as rapidly or with as much vigor as they were 6 months ago, it isn't any easier because candidates are just more nervous of making a move than they were before.
Yeah, and I think it's a really important point at the moment, because one of the misconceptions that people often have when taking this to existing customers is that it has to be a more senior role so they can justify it. They can say, well, this is more senior, so we need to work it on a retained basis. Or it needs to be really niche or a real curveball, something that they've not worked before. So they can say, well, on this one, because it's so niche, we need to apply a different methodology. My first retainers with existing clients, they were on the exact same roles that I filled 3 weeks earlier contingently.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So we welcome your thoughts and your questions, your comments. We would love to bring you into the conversation. What do you want to know? What are you curious about? What's your experience of transitioning existing clients?
Any questions?
No?
I think there was a couple of questions.
Don't be shy. As soon as one person asks a question, there's always like 15 more afterwards. Here we go. I have 100% contingent fill rate with my client. How can I transition into a different model? So it's even better. It's even stronger and more compelling when you have been able to deliver every single time on a contingent basis, because your justification is, firstly, don't forget to check they're happy with that. Just because you have delivered every time doesn't necessarily mean that they're happy with what you're doing. It might be that it's taken too long, or, very rarely always happy with everything. So just double check they are. And if they are, then your justification is you want to carry on being able to do that, and you want to deliver this next project in with just as much commitment and of a good outcome. But the market is harder and harder, and you can't keep at the moment. You're working at risk. You're working with no financial commitment, which means you're having to work other positions, which means at any time the client might decide not to go ahead. And you can even cite an example that might have happened to you. I sometimes say, do you remember that time 3 months ago when you asked me to work on that position, and then 3 weeks later said, actually, can we put a pin in it? I just can't keep putting myself in that position, which means I have to balance my risk and work on other things. So I can't keep providing with this level of service. I'm not suggesting I'm going to be charging you any more. This isn't an exercise to make more money. I'm talking about some financial commitment that enables me to put in place my time and a process to make sure we reach a result, and I continue to deliver, if not improve the level of delivery to you. So that's a great question.
Yeah, it really is. Ajogu's got a question. I hope I've pronounced that right. What is the ideal price point for retained?
I mean that's a bigger question, because it does depend on what the definition of retained is. Our definition of retained is financial commitment from a client, which enables us to put in place a thorough and rigorous and robust process, which means we are able then to commit to working and make sure we reach a result. Now, that process that you're going to put in is, from our perspective, is thorough and exhaustive, and therefore is going to not be profitable if you're charging it too low. So I would certainly never price it less than a contingent fee. To begin with, it can make it easier to transition clients if you don't make it any more expensive. But typically, and I'm brushing a very broad brushstroke, I certainly wouldn't work below 23 to 25% on a retained basis at the very, very lowest. A traditional retained rate is 30 to 33, so a third of total compensation. Most people sit somewhere between those two figures, in the mid to late 20s.
I think the more of it you start doing, the more retained business you win, the easier you'll find it to raise those fees, because you've got forecastable income. You don't have to be concerned about winning the project as much, because you already know what revenue is coming in over the coming months. I found that when I first did the course, my fees were 17 to 20%, and 3 years later, they were all 33%.
Yeah, I had exactly the same experience, and lots of our members have exactly the same experience. They all see an increase in fees.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, Sam, not a question, but Sam said he's very recently done exactly that with a client, won the role, delivered it in a month, and since then he's won 3 more roles for him and his team. Great work, Sam.
Fantastic.
Yeah, really, really well done.
It's true.
Julia's got a question too. Sharky, you bring Julia's question up. I'm assuming this means, what is the agreement as part of a MSP PSL? They apparently have to go to all PSL agencies, even if you fill the majority of roles.
Not sure what the question is there.
No.
What is agreement is part of MSP PSL, so they apparently have to go to all PSL agencies. I mean, I can see what you're saying. If a customer has a PSL in place, they generally do have to go to all the PSL agencies. That's the whole point of the PSL. It doesn't matter who fills what. the whole point of being on a preferred suppliers list is that everybody gets preference over it. Well, they say preference, but it's normally 10, 15, 20. Yeah, on the PSL. I just don't understand your question. That's all. I'm so sorry, Julia. Maybe you can clarify that for us, then we can come back to it.
I think there are some
Natasha, when selling retained versus contingent, how do you sell retained as the preferred option without the client thinking that if they were to do contingent, you won't put in as much effort? Oh, Natasha, that is that's the $1 million question, and that's exactly what we teach you how to do. In fact, Sam Strickland has just added to his comment, thanks to us guys. So yeah, you're in the right place. Basically, go to the website, book a call, and we'll talk you through it. Yeah. But the focus of today is transitioning existing clients rather than the positioning as a solution in any other cases. So we do want to talk to you, Natasha. Please just head to the diaries, book some time in with Jordan or I, and we'll have a chat with you. Thank you.
We can't give away all of our recipes on public forums, can we?
Yeah, but also it will just take too long. I think we've got like 5 minutes left, and we've got about 7 other questions. It's a great question. The YouTube channel might help too.
Yeah.
Let's have a look at Nicholas. Can you talk more about how to gauge the level of satisfaction the client has with your service and when to start the conversation for a retained model? Yeah, I mean, that's pretty easy, Nicholas. In the first part of your conversation, just get to the bottom of whether they're happy with what you're doing or not. And keep asking questions. If they're like, yeah, it's okay. Okay, what do you mean by that? You mean it? What's the time to hire like? Are you happy with the quality? Are you happy with the quantity? And the thing is, the reason that you can be so confident about keeping digging and getting to the heart of whether they're happy with it or not is if they're really happy with it, then your justification is, okay, brilliant. I want to keep delivering this service, but here's my problem. I'm working completely at risk. I can't keep putting the amount of time in and effort in that I'm doing to get you this happy without any financial commitment from you, because it's too risky for me. Because just like, you know, that time when you pulled the plug on that position, I'm too vulnerable, right? So here's what we're going to do. And if the alternative happens and they go, well, yeah, it's okay, but actually we're not happy with this, we're not happy with the quality, we're not happy with the quantity, then okay, brilliant. I want to solve that for you. Here's how I want to solve it. So it doesn't matter which way you go with it. So your job is to get to the heart of whether they are or whether they're not happy. And if they're not happy, what are they not happy with? And then solve it. If they are really happy, here's how you're going to carry on making them happy.
And in terms of when to have that conversation, I would say as soon as possible. Like almost any excuse to get into that conversation with the client. It could be it's an end of
either I'm really happy or I'm really pissed off.
Yeah, it's like, is it at the end of an assignment? Can you do like a kind of post-assignment wash-up, a feedback meeting, whatever you want to call it?
Yeah.
Can you do it as an end-of-quarter review, end of financial year? Like whatever excuse you can find to get into that conversation with the client, use it.
Yeah, agree. Totally agree. Somebody has asked, what's a typical fee collection cadence during a particular search? Well, typical fees are a third of total comp. Traditional search fees are a third of total compensation broken into 3 stages. First on commencement of work, second on agreed shortlist, and balance on completion. Unless we're talking about the Shrek firms, your Spencer Stewart, Hydrix, Russell Reynolds, in which case it's third of total comp broken into 3 stages. First stage is on commencement, second is 30 days, and the balance, the remainder, 60 days, and then the balance is washed up once the offer to the successful candidate's been worked out and any remaining money's owed. Hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah. Okay, a couple of people. Charlotte, if you could bring Giles's question up, I think there's a couple of people that would be interested in this. Giles has said they work in the USA and the UK markets. Have you noticed different retained pitching approaches with different international markets? No, is the answer. I've worked lots in both the UK and in the US, and my approach hasn't particularly changed. What about yourself, Lou?
No, exactly the same. US, Europe, Central Europe. Where else?
Well, actually, even just in addition to our personal experience, I think we've got members in over 30 countries.
Yeah, we have, yeah.
About
Africa, Mexico, Hong
30
Kong.
our customer base is US, and we teach the same process, and the results are there for all to see. Julia's clarified as well. Julia said, sorry for the confusion. I was listening at the same time as typing. Yeah, I do that all the time, Julia. Don't worry. Can this only be applied to clients when you're already working outside of a PSL? I would say no. Often it is seen, in my experience, as a solution to a problem. And it can be sold to customers where you are already on a PSL when that PSL isn't delivering on a contingent basis, when there are problems that cannot be solved by the contingent model.
Yeah. And yeah, I completely agree. They'll write, I mean, outside of a PSL, they'll write exception work orders. They will make exceptions outside of the PSL when it isn't solving the problem for them. And that's when you get to introduce them to a model that's more effective than, I mean, the PSL will work for a lot of the standard day-to-day, everyday low-level positions, right? But for the stuff that people like us are drafted in, it often doesn't. Once you position it as a solution, then you're able to change the outcome and change the journey.
I'll tell you what, Nicholas Rosselli asked a question, we answered the question, and I've just seen his book the call. He's on fire. Oh. Nicholas, I'm looking forward to speaking with you.
Very nice. Okay, cool. What about Natasha? How do you recommend selling retained to clients who have already used a retained model? Yes. It's quite common, actually. It's quite common to come across clients that have been burnt by a retained model. It's usually one of two circumstances. One is they've been working with one of the larger firms that are, well, I was going to say by nature, less tenacious and driven to a result and to an outcome. In fact, the most recent publication from the Association of Executive Search published the SHREC firm completion rates at 67%. So they're failing to make the hire in 1/3 of cases. It's either that they've been working with a firm like that, or they've been working with a contingent firm that doesn't know how to deliver retained work properly. And our job there is to empathize first. It's always heartbreaking when you come across a client that's put their faith, their trust and their financial commitment with somebody that has failed to produce a result. But it's also then to unpick what's happened and why, and explain what the reason for why it's happened, and ask them for the opportunity for you to demonstrate how effective this way of working can be when it's done properly, and make it really easy for them to buy. And there are ways and techniques of making it very easy for them to step into this relationship with you so that you can reset their perception and reset their experience and reset the outcome for them when they've been burnt before. And we teach you how to do that too. So I would like to teach you, Natasha.
Yeah. I think we're running out of time, Lee, right?
Are we?
Yeah, I think so. But we would be delighted to answer any more of your questions. As Charles said, act like Nicholas has, booking a call with us. Yeah. We would love to chat. We would love to understand more about where you're at with retained work, where you're trying to get to, and help in any way at all that we can. I think this is the last one in the series, right, Lou?
Yeah, it is. I haven't got a plan for the next series yet. So watch this space, follow us on YouTube, and even better, book in some time with us and let's have a chat with you. We'd really love to.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us today. Hope you've picked up some
everybody. Hope it helps. Thanks, Lou. Thanks,
George.
as
always.
Thanks,
Cheryl. Thank you very much. Bye, everyone.
Bye now.